My name is Ann Parashow. I'm a Senior Growth Marketing Manager here at Litera, and I want to thank you all for joining us for today's presentation. This is a celebration of the Litera and Peppermint technology acquisition, and I'm very excited to be joined by our two panelists today, Avanish and Russell. Just a quick note before we get started, all of the information that we will be covering in today's webinar is confidential. So that being said, if you see something you like or that interests you, feel free to share it within your organization, but please do not share externally as it is proprietary information. That being said, really quick agenda here. So we are going to have a quick overview of the acquisition and the strategy behind it. After which we're going to have a short question and answer session for Avanish based on his slides and his information that he shares. So if you have questions for him, please drop them in the questions panel on your app. And once we do that, once we have those questions, we will pass it over to Russ for a demo of the product. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to the presenters. Oh, Avanish, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. Yep. Thanks. I'll introduce myself real quick and then let Russ chime in as well. So I'm Avanish Marwaha. I'm the CEO of Litera. I've been with the business since 2016 as CEO and then chair and then I'm back in seat as of this fall. Excited to share a bit about the why for the acquisition and bringing the brands together. But first, introduce Russ.
Hello everybody, my name is Russell Bell. I'm the Senior CRM Sales Manager at Litera for our Peppermint Client Engagement Solution. I've worked with Peppermint for 8 years in total, spent the first 5 of my years of my time here as an implementation consultant, so working on projects all the way through from kickoff through to go live. And then in the last 3 years, I've joined the sales team. So prior to working at Peppermint, I used to work for LexisNexis as an interaction consultant. I did that for 5 years. And then prior to working for legal tech vendors, I worked 8 years in-house as a CRM manager at 3 firms in London. So always worked in and around the legal industry with CRM technology.
All right,
Great.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Russ. So why don't we dive in? I know we got a short period of time, and I think Russ being on the keyboard is much more exciting than me talking about the why. At Litera, we're focused on driving meaningful results to our customers and end users. For the last decade or so and more, we've done, I believe, a really remarkable job delivering value to associates and practitioners of firms, from drafting documents to managing their deals in Litera Transact, due diligence with Kira. We feel like that path forward for us is pretty strong. As a beneficiary of that, we acquired a business called Foundation a few years back. Best of breed experience management for law firms, used by over 100 law firms today. And in conversations with our customers over the last couple of years, asking them what else can we do to deliver value, expanding into the MarTech stack made a lot of sense. And as a brand, we've always been focused on delivering value from the Microsoft ecosystem, making Word more valuable, making Outlook more valuable. And now with Peppermint, we can expand that story to include Teams, further investing in Outlook and Dynamics, and really build upon the leadership that Microsoft brings to the legal ecosystem. Who else to back your truck against besides the leader in AI and workflow and office solutions? What this does for us is allows us to bring an end-to-end MarTech offering. And I joke about this, but it's really about meeting someone potentially at a bar, doing work for them, finishing the matter, harnessing all the experience and reusing it in the future, and doing all of that in one single interface with Litera, backed by the Microsoft tech stack. On the next slide, you'll have a greater indication of what I talk about when I say the full end-to-end MarTech stack. Being able to do email campaigns, track engagement, all the way through responding to a request for an RFP, to winning the matter, to then doing the work and using tools like Dragon to harness the experience, it really is a comprehensive solution. Looking long term, what does that mean for Litera? As I mentioned before, we've been focused on the associate for so long. Our desire now is to deliver meaningful outcomes to partners and rainmakers of law firms, giving them the right data at the right place at the right time to give them a chance to win more matters and increase overall top-line growth of a law firm. By doing that, we believe we're in a really strong position to deliver value for the legal ecosystem for the foreseeable future. That's the why behind the acquisition of Peppermint. And I'm really excited to bring this to all of our customers overnight and to deliver meaningful integrations shortly thereafter between Foundation and Peppermint, Drafting and Peppermint, back to all of our end users. With that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions as to why Litera has acquired Peppermint or why this is the CRM of choice for us.
I do not have any questions coming through just now. Keep in mind, you are welcome to ask questions throughout the presentation. Any questions that we don't get to at this point, we will follow up with you via email. So if you don't have a question now, but you do in a little bit, feel free to ask. All right, and with that, I think I'm passing it to Russ to go ahead and give the presentation or to the demo.
Thanks, Em. Okay, can I get a thumbs up that you can see my screen? Should see Outlook.
Good. Yep.
Okay. So, thanks, Avanish. Today's webinar will focus on the lawyer's user experience with Peppermint, and I'm going to start by showing our Peppermint Connect solution, which brings data, CRM functionality from client engagement and other Litera solutions into the everyday office applications that lawyers use, those being Outlook and Teams. So we're going to show Connect, and I'm going to give you a quick tour of what we call the core tables within our out-of-the-box solution. So these being matters, clients, client groups, accounts, companies, and contacts. So without further ado, I'll make a start. So I'm in my Outlook. I've received an email from a client in relation to a matter that we're working on. The email itself contains several actions. It's asking if we can set up a meeting in early March to discuss the timeline. It's giving me an introduction to another contact. There's an opportunity to discuss a company formation opportunity, and there's a call there to be added to a technology mailing list. So I've got a number of actions within this email, and over here on the right hand side you can see that we've got the Connect panel in Outlook, and on the first tab I can see all of the contacts internally and externally that are linked to the email. So we've got Holly here. Holly, her email address is unrecognized, so she's coming through as an unknown contact. Now I can really easily add Holly into Peppermint with this button here. You can see here I can just click create contact. That will take as much information as it can from Holly's email signature, and I can click save, and that will push Holly as a contact now into the database, into Peppermint. Let me just give a refresh. There we go. Holly's now a known contact. We can see that there now. I can also see that in this email there's discussion around creating an opportunity. They want to discuss a company formation. I can do that by coming into this contact here, and I can also create an opportunity. So I'm going to type in here company formation, and I can put a department in. So let's put corporate, put the work type as corporate governance. Let's say the estimate revenue is, let's put 100,000. I'm going to say I expect this opportunity to close sometime at the end of April. And again, I can just click save. So within that email, within that panel, I've been able to create a contact and been able to create an opportunity that again will go into Peppermint. And we'll see that a little bit later on when we open up the full solution. Okay, so I've created the contact. The other thing that's in the timeline or in the email itself is to add Lorenzo to the mailing list. So again, that's another feature that a lawyer can do really easily, really quickly by coming in here, add to marketing list, and I can just search for the technology list. And again, I can just really quickly do some key actions, the key sort of actions that we would expect a lawyer to be able to do really quickly from within Outlook without having to go into it in a separate screen. Underneath that, I can see the My Relationships. What this is showing here is the strength of my relationship with Lorenzo. Now, this is calculated by our built-in ERM solution. So essentially, our algorithms used information surfaced on what we call Microsoft Graph. So that's email exchange activity, emails, calendar appointments, Teams conversations to essentially create the engagement score and the trend of that relationship. And if I hover over the little heart icon, I can see a bit more narrative about the relationship I have. It's excellent and it's improving. I've also got the ability here within this little button to confirm that score. Now, what we found when we built our ERM solution was that some of the feedback we had from customers was that, well, sometimes the implied score, should we say, is artificially high. It may be that you're CC'd into loads of emails, but never have any kind of face-to-face or personal interaction with somebody. Or it may be artificially low. It may be that you're a family or a friend and you use WhatsApp or some other kind of social media to communicate, or you see them face-to-face, in which case the score might be too low. So I can come in here with this confirmed score. I'm going to set it to fair. My implied score is that I have an excellent relationship, but I've come in and said, well, actually, it's fair. I work with Lorenzo on several matters, but I've never met in person. And again, I can just save that, and that's saved that confirmed score now. So anybody looking at my relationship with our ERM tool will be able to see that I do have a relationship, but I've kind of validated the strength of that. I can also see who else knows Lorenzo. So if I come in here, I can see that Tom, he's one of my colleagues. He's got a pretty strong relationship, although it's gone on its way down. And I can see some of my other colleagues know Tom as well. Oh, sorry, know Lorenzo. The profile tab, this tab here essentially is where Connect contextualizes the email against relevant data from Peppermint or other integrated solutions, such as Foundation. So in this example, the email is being profiled against a matter, but it could easily be profiled against an opportunity. It could be profiled against a client, or even something like an event. So from here, we can see that this email has been saved. It's been saved as an activity against the matter. It's also saved the email. It's also saved the attachment, in this case, the shareholding documentation that the client has sent through. If I click on dashboards, I can also see some other information about this record. So if I can actually stretch that screen out, you can sort of connect or stretch the connect screen out to about 3/4 of the way across the page. And now I can see all the recent activities for this matter. I can see some time that's being captured. I can see the work in progress, hours over time, and I can see some documents in there as well. So that's what we call our dashboards area. But if I'll just stretch that back so it's minimized. Under the connections tile here, what this is showing me is a list of all of the internal and external connections with this matter. And I can see my colleague there, Tom, at the very top of this list. Now from here, one of the things that I can also do is I can essentially start a Teams chat with Tom from Connect. So I can come in here and I can click on the little 3 buttons next to Tom's name, click on chat. It's loaded Tom as the recipient, and I can come in here and paste the message up. But hi, Tom, as the relationship partner for Gorilla, I'd like to work with you on this matter. I've set up this space to collaborate. Now, once I click send, that will create a Teams chat. So Tom will receive that in the same way he'd receive any normal Teams notification. If I just jump into Teams now, we can see that Teams chat's being created. It's given a title of the matter that I'm working on. That's the message that Tom will receive. And obviously we can communicate here as well on this board. But crucially, what Connect has done is it's also created a tab up here. So it's inserted the Connect app inside this Teams conversation. And it means now that Tom and I both have a a collaborative working space to sort of continue working on this matter together. So I can see that dashboard that I showed you a little bit earlier on, and again, those same tiles that we're seeing within the Outlook pane. So as I say, from creating a Teams chat, it's also inserted all of this kind of matter information into this Teams channel, and it's clipped it inside one of the tabs across the top of the screen. I go back to my inbox. So that's looking at the connections. Underneath this, we have our link to the documents. So our links to the DMS. So again, we can see in the first folder here, all of the emails that have been stored against this matter. If I go back, I can see also any supporting documentation. So this is all documents that are stored in our DMS linked to this matter. Now, Connect works with iManage, it works with SharePoint Online, it works with SharePoint Embedded as well, and others. And we also support multi-DMS. So that's to help firms who are looking to migrate from one solution to another, or who are looking to leverage specific features of each of the DMS that they have in their environment. And then finally, on this profile tab, you can see activities. So this is just basically showing you all of the activities that relate specifically to this matter. So if I come in here and look at the chats, I can see that chat that's been saved with Tom that I set up a minute ago, and I can see if there's any outstanding tasks and things like that. So essentially just all of the activities that relate to that matter. Now, the final tab within our Connect solution is this one here, Lara. This is our AI infused feature. And what it's done is essentially here, it's taken a summary of the email exchange and it's created a little summarization, so a generative summarization of the email, but it's also called out the actions. So it's recognized that there's a few things that I need to add to my to-do list. And one of those here is to set up a meeting in London to discuss the time frame of the acquisition of this other company. So I can come in here, and with this action, I can create a task. I can set up a meeting, and I can say, actually, that's not a task for me. I'm going to set that up for Tom, and then that's Tom's. Will come up on Tom's dashboard, like something that for him to do is to create that to set up that meeting. So as I say, you can do that for all these actions that it's pulled out. You can just go in there and create a task. Now, in addition to that Lara feature, if I just hit reply, if I go to profile and hit reply, it's now going to allow me to essentially build an email that I'm going to send back to the client. You can see straight away that it's opened up the relevant documents associated with matter, and I can just come in here and essentially attach one of the documents from our DMS that we've just been made available to us in Connect. I've attached it to the email. And what I can also do, if I go to the Lara tab here, I'm also able to now use an AI tool to essentially create the email itself. So where I've got the draft, the key points, what I'm able to do is essentially take like a bit of a rudimentary command and just stick it in here, paste it in here. So I've just put thank Lorenzo for the email, introduction to Holly, look forward to meeting to discuss the opportunity, attached terms of engagement, look forward to setting a meeting up in March, and I've added you to the list. So I've no grammar in there at all. I've just hit quick reply. And what that's going to do now is you can see it's given me an email, it's drafted me a first stab at an email I can send back to the client. Now from here as well, I can sort of take various components of this email, I can obviously edit it, but I can come in here and highlight a section, say, you know, make that a little bit more friendly and apply that change. And you can see it's just changed the tone of that email as well. So with our Lara features, it's aiding the lawyers by being able to kind of draft emails just based on a very rudimentary reply that we've kind of keyed into this area down here. And I can hit send, and that email will go back to Lorenzo and in this case into Holly as well. So that's essentially a demo of our Connect solution. All of that I've done without having to leave Outlook. I've been able to add a contact to the mailing list. I've been able to create a new contact, create an opportunity, start a Teams chat, and I've been able to do all of that without having to leave Outlook. If I wanted to have a bit more of a deep dive look at this matter, I can open Peppermint directly from the Connect app as well. So if I click on this leaf icon, what that will do is it will open up Peppermint and it'll take me straight through to the matter that we've just seen profiled in Connect. So this is an open matter in client engagement, and this is the web client now that you're seeing. So everybody does have access to this. We typically find that lawyers will tend to spend most of their time in Connect or using the Teams app or maybe using the mobile app, but everybody does have access to this version as well. And as I say, this is an example of a matter that's typically sourced in the practice management system. So with this matter here on the left and right hand side, you've got some metadata that's typically captured at file opening. And in the center of the screen, you've got what we call our insight tiles. This is to draw the user's attention to key pieces of information. There we can see the task that I created in Connect a short while ago. You can see that's listed as an activity against this matter. And you'll notice that when I click on the tiles on each of these insights, the subgrid underneath changes to display the information that's making up that calculation. So there's the 4 connections. There's a look at the matter balance sheet, etc. Now, with this form here, what you'll notice with the form design in Peppermint is that you have these tabs that run across the top of the screen. You'll see this same kind of UI for all the records that we're going to see in this part of the demonstration. They provide the structure to the form. So the timeline essentially is going to show you all of the activities that relate to this particular matter. So in Peppermint, you are able to tag activities against intangible records on the system as well. It's not just linked to people and companies. So there's all of the activities that relate to this matter. Matter parties, again, is that look at all of the connections, all those internal and external connected records to this particular piece of work. And then matter outcomes, this is essentially where you've got the kind of experience data either stored in Peppermint or coming across via an integration with Foundation. And you can also see here where we've got the source of business. It may have been an event where this particular piece of work was sourced. It may have been referred from another organization. Now, because we've got financials associated with this matter, that means we can then start to do some ROI tracking on the amount of spend on an event, or how much work of Austin Beach LLP referred to us over the past 12 months. If I go back to the summary tab now and just open up, let's have a look at the client record. So this is Gorilla Technology, the client record that again is coming through into Peppermint via the integration with the practice management system. So on here, again, we've got all that metadata on the left-hand side that's come through. What we've got here is a list of all of the open matters. Each of these open matters will have a matter balance sheet associated with it. And on the right-hand side, we've got an aggregated client balance sheet. What we're also able to do on the Build Fees tab is we're able to bring that data to life. So we're able to visualize those financials into what we call a client report. So this is looking at all the build fees in the last year. So looking at billing trends. I can also use these date filters here to focus in on particular time ranges. So I can look at all build fees of all time. And over here on the right-hand side, we've got the build fees to date by department. So this is where we can see which services we're providing to a client, and potentially and crucially where there could be white space or cross-selling opportunities. And again, I've got these date filters in here that I can come in and start to focus on different time periods as well. Now that's looking at an individual client record with the number 0013. Now, it may be in your practice management system, there's duplication, or it may be that when the data comes into Peppermint, you may want to group it. You may act for different legal entities that operate under the same brand. So we've also got this notion here of a client group. A client group essentially is a collection of clients. So as I say, duplicate clients, or those that are operating within a much bigger multinational company. So if I'm the relationship partner for Waystar Royco, I could come in here, I can see there's 5 clients underneath this client group. But if I click on the build fees tab here, what I'm now reporting across, is that range of clients. Rather than looking at one client in isolation, I'm able to go into this kind of client group record and see a much broader set of financials and build fees to date by department, etc. Now, what you've just seen there, the client group and the matter records, it is possible for you to put security around that. As a consultant, I was often asked about whether it's possible to just allow the lawyers and potentially the BD managers to be able to see that information. And naturally, because all of those records are in separate tables in what we call Dataverse, it's really easy for you to put security in there that would prevent, all users from being able to see potentially sensitive information. If I go back to the client record, what we've got here is a link to what's called this is called the account record. Now, an account essentially is the company, it's the organization record. So every single company on your system would have an account record that would look something similar to this. It's the single source of truth. So on this one record, we can see that they're a client, we can see the client status, we've got a link to the addresses, I've got a map over here as well. We're able to see the total number of connections, we can see the who knows who. So I can see there's 2 internal colleagues that have a relationship with people at Gorilla Tech. If I want to see who Tom, my colleague, knows at that company, I could click on that number 7 and I can see there all the 7 people he knows at Gorilla Tech. As I say, that's powered there by our ERM solution that I spoke about a little bit earlier on. I can also see that we've got about 70,000 worth of open opportunities with this client, and we've also got what we call engagement. This is more like the strategic BD planning record that we've got. We've separated it out from the kind of more reactive opportunities records. I can also see company segmentation down here, so I can see that Gorilla Tech operate within the technology space. If I click on technology here, again, if I just jump straight to the reports, I'm able to get like a report on a specific industry here. So if I'm the head of technology, media and telecoms, I can come in here and I can see which fee earners or which lawyers are billing the most time, where our work's coming from, what's the source of business for our technology work, what services we typically provide to our technology clients. And then if our work's coming from referral sources, who are our top referrers for work in the technology space. And then finally, for this short demo on Peppermint, let's have a look at a contact. So if I open up Lorenzo is the person that sent us that email at the very beginning of this demonstration. So this is what's known as a contact record. So again, every single person on your system would have a record that would look something similar to this. Again, front and center, we have our tiles that show the internal relationship. So again, you can see that I've got potentially the strongest relationship with Lorenzo. As you can remember in the Connect demo, I did change that score to fair, but I can also see that Lorenzo's connected to opportunities. There's that opportunity that I created from Connect that's gone into Peppermint as well. I can also see there's 5 matters that Lorenzo's connected to. He's also connected to some engagements. And again, across the top of the screen, we've got those tabs that provide that structure to the page. Now, with all the forms that you've seen today, they are all configurable. So if you're looking at these forms and think we may want to change these sections around, or you want to add and remove fields, it's all drag and drop in the back end. So it's really easy to be able to configure Peppermint and have some logic around what is or isn't a required field. So one example I used to get asked quite a lot when I was a consultant was, well, we want to make email address a required field, but only if someone's added a company. And that's something that you can do. You can have some logic that says, if the company field here has a value, then email address then becomes a required field. The thinking there is if someone's employed, they should have an email address. Now, as I say, that's hopefully given you some food for thought. There's a lot more that I can demonstrate with Peppermint. We've not looked at any of the sort of marketing functionality. We've not looked at any of the BD functionality. We've not looked at the mobile app. And what we're also able to offer now is essentially a full marketing end-to-end demonstration. So here I've just jumped out and I can see here that I've installed Concept into Peppermint, and you can see the Concept has got a native integration into Peppermint, so we can run a full end-to-end marketing event or campaign within Peppermint without having to jump into separate apps or separate portals. That's all possible from within this web app. And as I say, I hope that's been interesting for you and given you some food for thought. Please do get in touch if you'd like to have any further conversations and more of a deep dive demonstration. But without further ado, I'll hand back over to Anne.
Thank you, Russell. We do have a couple questions that we'd like to answer. Again, we've had quite a few questions. We're going to just pull out a few of them here. But while we're with Russ, one of the questions is, does Connect come with the installation of Peppermint?
Yes, it can do. Yes, okay. It can come as a app that we would install alongside the full solution, the core solution. Yes.
And does it work with NetDocs and iManage Cloud?
I believe so, but that's a question that I might have to take away just to double check.
Okay. Do you have the ability to disable the AI feature?
Yes, you can. So again, we've been asked that by a number of our clients that are using Connect. They've asked if they can disable AI until their governance at the firm has kind of given them the all clear to use AI features.
Okay, great. When an action is assigned, does it create a task in Outlook, and can you export an action list?
Yes, it can. It can create a task in Outlook that synchronizes that user. So Tom, I set him a task to draft or to set up a meeting that can appear in Tom's Outlook. He could also receive an alert that a new task had been created for him, either at the point of creation or as it comes up to the due date, maybe 24 hours before the due date. It could also create like an alert to say you've got an outstanding task. And naturally, all those tasks could be sort of exported or positioned on a dashboard that Tom would be able to kind of see and sort of close them off as he's completed those tasks.
Okay, great. And then I think we'll just do one more quick one. Can you only see your activities, or will anyone's activities show in the dashboard on the web version? Can you mark an activity private?
Yes, you can filter the view. So I could have a view of all activities that are currently open, or I could just have a look at my activities. Regarding private activities, there would be a way within the settings to be able to maybe configure activities to be private. We typically recommend that everything's open. It's a CRM system after all. But yeah, there is a way that we could kind of make it so that there's certain activity, if there's a certain, we could put a custom field on an activity, for example, say if this is ticked, then only allow the owner to see the activity within their list. There's also a feature in Peppermint to have what are called private notes. So you are able to kind of have private notes listed against the contact. So for example, if I have someone's personal mobile number, I may wish to kind of profile it in a private note and not necessarily share it with everybody in the organization. So yes, you can do, there's certain features that we've built in that allow the user to maintain control over certain bits of data.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Russ. As I said, we do have some more questions, but we will pull them offline. We do have a couple of questions for Avanish, so I will pull those up really quick. So what does this acquisition mean for Upper Sigma? How are you positioning Peppermint versus Upper Sigma?
Yeah, great. This has come up for a few customers of ours. So we are definitely building, innovating, and selling Peppermint. And we are behind the Microsoft tech solution. For existing Upper Sigma customers, we are meeting with each person individually and having the conversation of how do we move forward. In some cases, we're happy to renew that CRM with the customer. We're not reducing our investment in development and support while customers still have a very critical, mission critical product like Upper Sigma. I can tell you in the last month or so since the acquisition, we've had a few firms interested in making the shift to Peppermint. We're happy to do that. We've had a few firms say, we just want to renew for a long time and maybe examine this conversation later. So we are super flexible and interested in doing what's right by the market. There's no end of life viewed for Upper Sigma at this point. We're really just really excited about what Peppermint can do for us and the industry, and leveraging the Microsoft ecosystem is mission critical for us.
All right. And what is your first development priority for Peppermint?
So we have two. One is don't touch anything. So whatever was in the roadmap, we are not touching, and we are making those where we can try to accelerate. We will, The second thing, which is probably equally important, and I might being selfish and trying to make it even a higher priority for the team right now, is the integration of Foundation into Connect. And beyond that, it's integrating some of our drafting tools into Connect as well. Litera was already on a path to deliver a Outlook add-in sometime in the next few months with this acquisition that accelerates to today. So I'm pretty anxious and have low patience to not have this done tomorrow, but we're doing it right, and I'm hopeful that in Q2 or short thereafter, we've got the integrations proven out and available to market.
Okay, I think you kind of answered this question, but the question is, what is your ETA on either partial or complete integration with Foundation and Peppermint?
Don't hold me to this one. Otherwise, the product management teams across the organizations are mad. But look, I'm pushing to have no later than ILTA in August to have all this available. I think we're going to look to pull all that forward much earlier, but we want to do it right. So we've got all the plans in place. I think all the stories are written out, and now it's a matter of execution and testing. So without holding the development team to an expected deadline, a high degree of confidence by ILTA, and hopefully before that.